Good afternoon. Welcome to RMU Live. I'm Isabella Harris.
And I'm Nick Evans. They say if at first you don't succeed, try and try again. Well, today the Senate is trying a vote for the fourth time in the same spending bill. It's unlikely to pass, and Democrats and Republicans can't seem to agree on how to fund the federal government. Until they do, it's staying closed. Let's send it over to Amy Kiley for more.
Today, the Senate is voting on the same GOP funding bill that already failed 3 times. Democrats are expected to block it once again.
We haven't wanted to negotiate. We just want to keep the government open.
We are ready, we are willing, we are able to sit down with anyone, anytime, any place.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune says he's considering a talk with Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. In the meantime, if today's vote fails, Thune says he'll hold another one Monday on that same funding bill.
We are asking Democrats to do nothing more than pass a clean, nonpartisan bill to fund the government for a few more weeks so that we can get back to bipartisan appropriations work.
Democrats say they don't want to keep voting on the same legislation. They want to negotiate changes. They say their primary goal is to stop health care premiums from going up for people on Obamacare.
Enact a spending agreement that actually meets the needs of the American people while at the same time addressing the Republican health care crisis.
Meanwhile, the White House says President Donald Trump plans to fire thousands of federal workers during the shutdown. 2 officials say that could start today or this weekend.
We're going to look at agencies that don't align with the administration's values that we feel are a waste of the taxpayer dollar.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
For now, the stalemate in Washington continues, with the two sides still unable to come to a deal. Until then, thousands of federal workers remain in limbo.
U.S. stocks are up on Thursday as technology stocks and Wall Street keep rising while ignoring the shutdown of the U.S. government. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 79 points, or 0.2%, and the NASDAQ Composite climbed 0.4%. Both also hit records. The U.S. stock market has looked past the delays of such data. Shutdowns of the U.S. government have tended not to hurt the economy or the stock market much in the past.
Top Trump administration officials were in Memphis Wednesday to launch the new SAFE task force, part of the president's plan to combat violent crime in American cities. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller joined Tennessee Governor Bill Lee to rally a group of federal, local, and state law enforcement, as well as Tennessee National Guard members. The task force has reportedly made 50 arrests over a 2-day period, according to a social media post from Bondi. But critics have warned that the, quote, wartime rhetoric coming from the Trump administration risks making Memphians appear as enemies.
A highly unusual gathering on Tuesday, War Secretary Pete Hegseth pushed his vision to reshape the military. He vowed the end of diversity efforts and said the military will require those in combat jobs to meet the, quote, highest male standard only, end quote. President Donald Trump also spoke to the group. White House correspondent Julia Benbrook reports.
Top generals and admirals stationed around the world, hundreds of them, were told to travel to Virginia for this highly unusual meeting with very little notice. Sources say the idea for the gathering originated with Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth and was intended to describe the administration's reinvention of the Department of Defense to the Department of War, as well as outline new standards for military personnel. In his remarks, Hegseth vowed to end diversity efforts and went as far as to say that if senior military officers do not agree with his views on diversity and other matters in the military, that they should, quote, do the honorable thing and resign.
For too long, we've promoted too many uniformed leaders for the wrong reasons, based on their race, based on gender quotas, based on historic so-called firsts.
President Donald Trump spoke later. His remarks lasted for over an hour and touched on a wide range of topics, including his recent efforts to deploy troops to American cities.
And it's really a very important mission. And I told Pete we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, National Guard, but military.
It's still unclear why hundreds of military officials had to travel in to attend this meeting, and several sources have expressed concern about the cost of getting them there. On his way to the gathering, Trump admitted that there was, quote, a little bit of expense involved. At the White House, I'm Julia Benbrook.
Thanks, Julia. For now, the military and public are still waiting for answers about the purpose of that meeting, but it's clear that the military will undergo some major changes. Hamas military leaders in Gaza objects to the ceasefire plan. Mediators have made contact with the head of Hamas's military wing in Gaza, who has indicated that he does not agree with the new U.S. ceasefire plan. U.S. President Donald Trump's 20-point framework to end the war, which has already been accepted by Israel. It ensures that Hamas disarms and will have no future role in governing Gaza. Even with Trump's guarantee that Israel would abide by the terms, there is a lack of trust within the group that Israel would not resume its military operations once it had received the hostages. This story is currently ongoing.
Pro-Palestinian protests have grown across Europe as increased pressure is placed on the government to take a stricter approach regarding Israel's war in Gaza. These demonstrators have called for Israel to be banned from sporting and cultural events, while Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has stated she would support European Union sanctions. Meloni said, quote, "Israel ended up violating humanitarian norms, causing a massacre among citizens," end quote. This shifted stance comes after more countries have recognized a Palestinian state and are providing aid to Gaza.
An attack at a Jewish synagogue on Manchester, England, leaves 2 people dead. Police call this a terrorist attack on the holiest day of the Jewish year, Yom Kippur. Police shot and killed the suspect, a 35-year-old British citizen of Syrian descent. The attack took place as people gathered at the Orthodox synagogue. The 2 victims were Jewish, and at least 3 people were hospitalized in serious condition.
A 2-year-old girl in Nepal has been chosen as the country's new virgin goddess, or Kumari. Aryatara Shakya was carried to the temple palace Tuesday during the country's longest and most significant Hindu festival. She will bless many devotees, including the president, on Thursday. Families of the Shakya clan who qualify for this prestigious label gain an elevated position in society to have their unblemished daughter selected between the ages of 2 and 4. The former Kumari Trishna Shakya, who has now reached puberty, is considered to be mortal. She was placed during this celebration of good over evil.
Russell M. Nelson, the president of Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, passed away on Saturday at the age of 101. Dr. Nelson was the oldest serving head of the church and revered as a prophet. He was initially a trained surgeon who had called an apostle of the church in 1984. He became the president in 2018. President Trump wrote a statement saying, quote, "Russell had a remarkable life, pioneering life-changing heart surgery techniques, and of course, his ministry of many decades. He was a physician, literally and spiritually. He will be greatly missed," end quote. Dolan H. Oaks is expected by many to become the church's next president.
Emergency personnel in New York City responded to a partial collapse of an apartment building early Wednesday morning. According to reports, an incinerator shaft collapsed at the building, and an early investigation suggests an explosion was the cause. The official cause of the explosion has not been released. The building reportedly has active violations, and State Assembly member Amanda Septimo demands accountability, stating, quote, "We can't be relying on luck to keep our communities safe," end quote. Remarkably, no injuries were reported.
A superintendent of one of Iowa's largest school districts was detained last week by immigration agents. Former Superintendent Ian Roberts had falsely claimed a doctoral degree when applying for a job only 2 years ago, but was hired by the school board. Roberts, whose immigration authorities stated was living and working in the U.S. illegally, resigned this week as Des Moines Superintendent of Schools. The Des Moines Superintendent Board learned before hiring Roberts that he hadn't received the degree but still chose him to lead the district. The school board chair at the time, Teree Caldwell Johnson, stated that the board did not know about the settlement during his hiring because it only became public afterwards. The Sean Diddy Combs sentencing is underway as we speak. The hip-hop mogul has been jailed in a federal detention facility in Brooklyn, New York, since his arrest in September of last year. He faces up to 10 years in prison for each count of transportation to engage in prostitution. The U.S. Probation Department has recommended a sentence ranging between 5 and 7 years in prison. Combs was convicted for transporting 2 of his former girlfriends to have sex with paid male escorts at a drug-fueled parties. A jury acquitted Combs of racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking charges, allowing him to avoid a possible life sentence.
Looks like you'll be needing sunglasses today as we move on to Sarah for our weekly weather report.
Thanks, guys. My name is Sarah Krim, and I'll be giving you your weather forecast today. We're going to start off with today's hourly forecast. So at 3 p.m., a little bit after this show, it's going to be sunny and 75 degrees, and not much is going to change a little bit later at 6 p.m. Again, sunny, 75 degrees, but it is going to get a little cooler. At 9 p.m., it's going to be 67 degrees. It's really good weather for a bonfire, and maybe keep those light sweaters on standby. And then moving on to today's overall forecast, it's going to be a high of 77 degrees and a low of 51 degrees. The chance of precipitation is 5%, so not too much, and it is going to be a little humid at 62%. Moving on to tomorrow's forecast, it's a high of 80 degrees and a low of 51 degrees. The chance of precipitation is pretty low, again at 7%, and the humidity is going to be less than it is today at 49%. That's today and tomorrow's forecast for you guys. Make sure to keep on watching for the forecast for the upcoming week. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Sarah. Who would have thought you could still get a tan in October with that UV reaching 6 by this afternoon? When we come back, we find out how Ross Park Mall is responding after a recent gunfire outbreak, why a man turned himself in after starting a fire at an ATM,
and our Health Minute, highlighting new research to help women with breast cancer feel more comfortable in their skin, all after this break.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Oh boy. Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
You know, it took 20 years and I got my third child who was 17 at the time.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school or even let alone go to college, so I'm trying to break that barrier. Every day after work, went straight to school, studied hard, and it paid off. I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me. The high school diploma is just added to the confidence, and now I feel unstoppable.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
You told me not to talk to strangers. You told me not to cross the street without looking both ways.
You told me not to touch the stove.
You told me not to do drugs.
You told me not to drink and drive.
You gave me so many messages about how to stay safe. Why didn't you keep me safe by properly storing your gun?
Welcome back to RMU Live. Let's get into some local news.
A missing 75-year-old pilot was found dead in Indiana County on Thursday morning. State police reported a pilot missing after taking off in a small plane around 6 p.m. on Wednesday evening and not returning. David Whitmer of Altoona was flying an ultralight aircraft. State troopers began searching late that night and early into Thursday morning. A volunteer pilot who was assisting with the aerial search found Whitmer's plane crashed in a cornfield along Coal Run Road in Moon Township. A local citizen who watched Whitmer take off with her daughter described him as a, quote, heck of a nice guy, quiet but wonderful, end quote. Police suspect that there is no foul play at fault and the incident is being investigated as an accidental death.
A motorcyclist was killed in a crash in Beaver County late Wednesday afternoon after he was hit by another vehicle. Jared Schmidt, a 43-year-old man from Seven Fields in Butler County, was traveling eastbound when he was struck by another vehicle traveling westbound. Schmidt was pronounced dead at the scene, while the driver of the other vehicle was not injured. It is unknown right now if any charges will be filed, and the investigation by the New Sewickley Police Department is still ongoing. The elderly woman that was hit by a car in Pittsburgh's South Side on Tuesday has died, according to public safety officials. A couple was crossing South 28th Street after leaving a restaurant when a vehicle turned off Sydney Street and struck the woman, who was in her late 70s. She was taken to the hospital in critical condition with head trauma, where she later passed away on Thursday morning. The driver cooperated with police, and potential crash factors are being evaluated.
Several North Hills police officers were called to Ross Park Mall Tuesday evening after a few gunshots were heard out in the parking lot of Dick's Sporting Goods. One man was reportedly shot but taken to the hospital in stable condition. The Ross Township Police Chief Deputy Brian Kohlhelp stated that they are still investigating to determine for what exactly happened, and they have tracked down the suspect's van. The mall has remained open throughout the week with extra security. Ross Park Mall said in a statement that they are committed to maintaining a strong security program at Ross Park to encourage all shoppers to feel safe. A man in Ross Township reportedly lit an ATM on fire to make a quote-unquote statement against the government. Early Wednesday morning, police said a man approached an ATM outside of Chase Bank on McKnight Road with a gas can. After igniting the fire, he fled the scene. The suspect, Keith Coyne Jr., turned himself in later that day. Officers did also note that they took place after the government officially shut down at midnight. The suspect noted that he did not wish to harm anyone, but wanted to prove a point to the federal government. Coyne is facing charges including arson and criminal mischief.
Community members in Mount Pleasant Township are enraged after swastikas were painted across multiple signs in the area this week. Many of the signs were near Mount Pleasant High School, and this comes a day before the celebration of Yom Kippur, the Jewish high holiday. Director of Safety at the Jewish Federation of Greater Pittsburgh, Sean Brokos, said that the Federation is aware of the situation and condemned the appearance of these hate symbols. Local Ginny Barrick provides words of community when she stated, quote, "We're going to stand strong. This person is going to get caught," end quote. As of right now, no arrests have been made.
The Meijer grocery store chain is preparing to expand into Western PA very soon, building upon their success in Northeast Ohio. The spokesperson for Meijer, Kara Lutz, explained there is no definite timeline for the new opening of the stores on these properties. We're excited about the prospect of bringing our quality products and exceptional shopping experience to customers throughout Western Pennsylvania, end quote. No specific locations have been announced for any Meijer stores in the Pittsburgh region, but Cranberry Township has been tossed into discussion for a new location.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. This year alone, more than 316,000 U.S. women are projected to be diagnosed with an invasive form of the disease, according to the American Cancer Society. A mastectomy is a way of treating breast cancer by removing the entire breast through surgery, but it can take a toll on the patient not only physically, but mentally and emotionally. In today's Health Minute, Mandy Gaither has more on how 3D printing technology could shape the future of reconstructive breast surgery. It's science that turned personal for one of the researchers.
John Fisher, a bioengineer at the University of Maryland, was already studying how to help women after a mastectomy when his wife, Gail, got life-altering news.
My wife was diagnosed with breast cancer and ended up having a double mastectomy as part of our treatment strategy.
It made his team's work even more personal because he saw firsthand the toll not only cancer takes, but also the surgery, how the changes in his wife's body affected her.
Having a body that you are comfortable with and that you're excited with each day is truly important for your overall health and well-being.
During Gail's reconstructive surgery, doctors were able to spare her nipple, but for some women, that's not the case.
There's some simple surgical approaches or even a tattooing approach, but Many folks end up doing nothing.
That's where his team's research comes in, using 3D bioprinting to create a nipple areola complex, or NAC.
We have a lot of flexibility in how we print the NAC, so we can do things like personalized engineering of the NAC itself.
In the future, Fisher hopes to add cellular components to the NAC, but the research is still ongoing.
We'd like to kind of build a company around this technology and then go through the FDA process for approval and getting it out to the patient population.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Fisher is hoping that one day this technology could also potentially help build other complex body parts, like noses and ears, for those in need after different types of surgery.
Coming up next, RMU football is back and both Colonial soccer teams will be playing this weekend.
Also, the MLB postseason is officially kicking off. Find out who won when we come back on RMU Live.
Bring it.
You guys later.
Mom wants us home. Okay. Bye, guys.
You guys need a ride? Sure. Yeah.
All right. How about some one-on-one? I gotta go eat, man. Sorry, I'll see you later.
Before we celebrate the freedom most Americans have, we must fight for the freedom all Americans deserve. Because all lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
When I was your age, I was just like you, fascinated by stars. But now I get to search for life in the universe. And who knows, maybe life is looking for us too.
So we're like aliens to them?
Yeah. Does anyone want to be a scientist now?
I do.
Awesome. We need more girls in STEM.
Maybe we can find aliens.
Welcome back to RMU Live.
Now, for everyone's favorite segment of the day, let's send it over to Joey Dramasic for sports.
Thank you, Nick and Isabel. Well, it's that time of the week. Let's not waste any time and get right into it. RMU football is back. After their idle week this past weekend, the Colonials will travel to Massachusetts to take on Merrimack College in their 5th game of the season. 2 weeks ago, the Colonials fell to Dayton 17-14 at home, and Ethan Shine scored both for the Colonials, so make sure to watch for Shine getting a lot of touches this weekend. The Warriors fell to Stony Brook last weekend 35-10. The last time these two teams met was just last season for the first time in a low-scoring affair, with the Colonials coming out on top 6-0. Now taking it to the ice, the women's hockey team started their season in a dominant fashion with the sweep over the Assumption Greyhounds last Friday and Saturday. The Colonials picked apart the Greyhound defense Friday night with a 6-2 victory. 6 different Colonials scored in the game to earn their first win of the season. The Colonials kept up their dominance into Saturday with a 4-2 victory as well. The Colonials started their goal scoring early with 3 of their 4 goals in the game coming in the first period. Now over to the volleyball team, who will be in action this weekend at the UPMC Event Center as they will take on the Oakland Golden Grizzlies. The Colonials started at Horizon League play with 2 wins over Purdue Fort Wayne and a loss to Youngstown State earlier this week. The Golden Grizzlies have started their conference play at 1-1 so far this season. Saturday's game kicks off at 2 p.m., followed by the second game starting at 2 p.m. as well on Sunday in Moon Township. Now let's take it over to the pitch, as both RMU teams had a busy week and will be in action this weekend as well. The women's team travels to Kentucky to take on Northern Kentucky in a matchup featuring both teams in the top half of the Horizon League table. The Colonials come into the game with more momentum after a 1-0 win over Detroit Mercy, while the Norse fell to Milwaukee this past Sunday. Coach Rick and the Colonials will look to start their away stand with a win before traveling to Indiana later next week to take on IU Indy and Purdue Fort Wayne. Now, with the men's side, the Colonials traveled to Penn State on Tuesday to take on the Nittany Lions, and unfortunately for the Colonials, they could never get any of their offense going, which resulted in a 2-0 defeat. The Colonials only managed to get 7 shots off, with only 2 being on target. Josh Lane was able to secure 7 saves in the loss as well. And for Penn State, their goal scorers were Kai Phillips scoring in the 35th minute and Ben Lipscomb, who scored 5 minutes later. The men's team has their chance to get that bad taste out of their mouth with the Horizon League matchup at home against IU Indy this weekend. The Colonials come into the matchup 3-2-4 with Josh Lane holding it down for the Colonials with 35 saves and 4 shutouts on the season. IU Indy comes in for 4-3-3, for looking to get their second Horizon League win of the season. Last season, RMU took down IU Indy in a 3-2 thriller. Kickoff for the game is at 3 p.m. at the North Athletic Complex. Moving over to some Pittsburgh sports, the Pittsburgh Steelers last weekend traveled to Dublin, Ireland, and took on the Minnesota Vikings in the international series. The Steelers came on top and took down the Vikings 24-21. The Steelers had a 21-6 lead going into the fourth, and they were able to hold off the Vikings late in the fourth quarter. Quarterback Aaron Rodgers threw for 200 yards and a touchdown, while Carson Wentz threw for 350 yards, along with 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in the loss. This week, the Steelers have a bye week, but will be in action next against the Browns on the 12th at 1 p.m. Well, that's all I have for you this week. Make sure to tune into next Friday for your weekly sports update. Back is Nick and Isabella.
Thanks, Joseph. It's a jam-packed weekend for the Colonial sports teams.
Right after this break, we have some more weather updates for you on the forecast.
When I first saw a turtle, my heart was full. Now I'm anything but lonely.
We had this deep connection, this heart connection.
He just wants to be close to you and part of your life.
Every day with Turtle is a perfect day.
When I'm holding her, it makes me feel calmer.
I think everything he does shows how much he loves us.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a little bit of a lot of things.
But they're all pure love.
If I could go back and change it all, I would. I think I'm gonna miss you the most. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Or maybe it's just the little moments. I could go back and change it all. If I could go back, I would. But I can't.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly and put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
Worried about your friend, but don't know how to reach out?
You could say, how are you, or get a fake tattoo. You could ask with an app if it works for you. You could chat with them in VR, it's so good. If you think you should check in, yeah, you should. Whatever gets you talking.
Reach out to a friend about their mental health.
Whatever gets you talking.
Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org.
Welcome back. We're going to get right into the 5-day forecast. Starting off with Sunday, it's going to be sunny with a high of 82 degrees and a low of 53 degrees. Monday is going to be a little bit more cloudy. It's going to be a high of 82 degrees again and a low of 60 degrees. And then make sure you guys have your umbrellas for Tuesday and Wednesday. It's going to be raining with a high of 77 degrees and a low of 57 degrees. And then Wednesday, again, rainy, but there will be a hint of sunshine. High of 63 degrees and a low of 42 degrees. And then Thursday is going to be sunny with a high of 63 degrees and a low of 40 degrees. Back to the desk.
Thanks, Sarah. Looks like a very nice weekend to throw those earbuds in and listen to the new Taylor Swift album that dropped last night.
Curious to see if it's upbeat or if it's more for recent, more low-beat ones. Thanks for watching RMU Live. We hope you have a great weekend.
And don't forget to tune in next week.